Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And to finish off our series of breaking down the NFL schedule, we have the NFC East and West. This one, for both these divisions, are probably the most because if you're, whether you're a Cowboys fan, an Eagles fan, can the Eagles repeat? Can the Giants just get better? What does the Commanders do in year 2 under Jaden Daniels? Those are things that need to be talked about for the NFC East. But the NFC West, can San Francisco find a way to rebound after such an abysmal season? Can Arizona keep the momentum? They have 2. Can they find a way to withstand that through an entire season? Can year 2 under Mike McDonald be fruitful with a new quarterback, a new offense, essentially? A really good defense. And can the Rams continue to find ways to win no matter how long Matthew Stafford decides to play? These are all questions that are going to be answered. Let's first start in Philadelphia to begin the NFC East. So, let me get it right here. Here we go. First game for the Eagles. Home for the Cowboys. It's banner night. Banner night is different than any other night. You get to see the Super Bowl banner go up. They bring the trophy out. There's usually the first time that the team won the trophy, they bring that trophy out. So I'm assuming a guy like a Nick Foles would come out with that trophy. Their first night, they're at home. They face their division rival, the Dallas Cowboys. You would think, okay, you'd have this amount of energy because you just won the Super Bowl. You're seeing it go up. It's an emotional time. Yet somehow we've always seen these teams with banner night, they struggle. You cannot afford to struggle. Because if Dallas is going to win any game in this is going to be the game. That's how they're going to play. They may not win it down the road, but they'll win this if you let them. You cannot be too emotional. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. You can't afford if the Eagles, because you got a really tough stretch. You play that game, and then you're on the road in Kansas City. Kansas City's looking for some fire at this point. They're going to look off the ball. You can't go and say, I'm going to look away for 30 seconds, because then you'll be down 0-2. Because Dallas is going to try to take advantage. Kansas City's going to do the same thing. But it doesn't get easier. Excuse me. It doesn't get easier for the Eagles. They go back at home, but they face the Rams. When you guys faced them last time, you won, but you nearly could have lost it at the end. You can't afford for that to happen. And then you're on the road against Tampa Bay. You struggled there last time with the Heat. So you can look up at this thing and be like, holy cow, we're 1-3. That's the position you could find yourself in if you don't. Even though, like I said, Dallas, Kansas City even, they're not as prepared as probably the Rams will be in week 3. You can't look them off for a second because they'll make it happen. That's the way it plays. Then you go back at home, you face Denver. On a Thursday night, so now the schedule starts to bend to you a little bit. But then you're on the road again, because that game against the Giants, you're in New York. Then you're at the Vikings. Then you're back home for the Giants. So you face the Giants twice in October. So that's an advantage. On the road, you have your bye week between October 26th, from the game with the Giants in Philadelphia to the next game would you face would be the Packers in Lambeau, which would be November 10th. Home, that's that game. Home game in Philadelphia versus the Lions. That's going to be a very fun game to watch. Then you go on the road to Dallas before 5 days later, my bad, 5 days later, you face the Bears at home in LA to face the Chargers. Home for Raiders at Commanders. You face the Commanders twice in 3 weeks at the Commanders. A sneaky game December 28th at Buffalo. That's a tough game. Because of all the teams that are in the NFC East right now, they don't face Buffalo. Dallas has the Jets, and they face them early. Because we'll get to that one in a minute. But Buffalo's a tough game. I believe Washington has Miami, and the Giants have the Patriots, if I remember correctly. So Buffalo is obviously the toughest match for you. And you got to go into Buffalo. It's going to be cold. Then you're home to finish off the year against the Commanders. So you kind of finish off with 2 games out on the road, 2 games at home to finish off the season. But it's a tough stretch. It's a tough season for the Eagles. They got to find a way to keep it together. And with their bye week being when it is, it can you're in a good spot for your bye week. You just got to be careful. That's all. But it's a good spot. Next up, Commanders. Home for Giants. It's a big one. On the road in Lambeau, okay? So you kind of got 3 teams already there that they don't exactly have an identity of offense. But they also, you could get 3 winnable games in a row. That's really important. So then, on the road in Atlanta to face the Falcons. On the road for the Chargers. Then you're at home for the Bears. 6 days later from the Bears game, you face the Cowboys in Dallas. So that's a Monday night game between the Bears and the Commanders. 8 days later, another Monday night, you face the Chiefs in Arrowhead. That's a tough game. Then you're home for the Seahawks. Then you're home for the Lions. That's a tough matchup. On the road in Miami to face the Dolphins. Before you have a late bye week. Very late bye week. When you play again November 30th against the Broncos in Washington. On the road to Minnesota on December 7th. Then to the Giants in New York against the Giants December 14th. Home for the Eagles before you wrap it up. Home for the Cowboys. So, 3 of the last 4 are at home. That's an advantage. But, hang on, no. 2 of the last 4 are at home. I do think the important thing we have to talk about here, of all the games, even the Minnesota game, that's a road game. That's a dome. To be in December and have a dome game, that's what you want. That's really what you want. Miami, though, in Miami is going to be tough. Next up, let's talk about the Cowboys. So we said this. Week 1, they faced the Eagles in Philadelphia. Banner night. That's a tough game. You're going to win any game. That's the game you have to win against them. Because you're not. Week 1s are strange. They're just strange. Like we said earlier in many videos, we said week 1, I appreciate the NFL for delivering a knockout punch. Because that's really what it was. I appreciate it. Thursday night opener in Philadelphia, Dallas versus Philadelphia. That's a really important night. Can Dallas find a way to win that game? We have to know, because it's a tough schedule for Dallas, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Home for Giants. Home on the road in Chicago against the Bears. Home for the Packers. This is kind of where Dallas has a little bit of room. The reason I mean by they have a little bit of room is, yes, they play Chicago and Green Bay back-to-back. You don't have to play in Green Bay, and you play in Chicago in the beginning of the year. So the weather shouldn't be a factor. That's what you want. That's really what you want. Then you're on the road against the Jets. Though, again, weather shouldn't be a factor, but home, away, or away, home, away. You don't like that. Then they on the road again against Carolina before they're home against the Commanders. Then they go back on the road to Denver in late October 26th. Home for Arizona. They always struggle against Arizona. Don't know why, they just do. Before they go back on the road against the Raiders. We talked about this. Dome stadiums are your friend. You have your bye week from November 3rd. Okay? Then you hit your bye week. And then you face the Raiders. You have dome stadiums. Yours home and then in Las Vegas. You come back from that bye week. You face the Raiders in Las Vegas. Then you go back home to face Philadelphia. This stretch, Philadelphia at Cowboys and so on for until the end of December, is a 6-week stretch that we haven't seen before, where there's a 6-game stretch where the Cowboys will face 6 11-plus win teams. Has never happened in history. Also, Dallas has 4 Thursday night games, which they normally only have 3, but Detroit has 3 also, and I believe Kansas City does as well, if not Washington. I know Washington for certain, but I believe Kansas City as well. But Dallas has 4, which has never happened either, so that's a lot going on there too. But let's go back into it. Home for Philadelphia, home for Thanksgiving against the Chiefs, on the road the next Thursday night against the Lions in Detroit, which, you know my thing, I don't like playing in Detroit because I don't think the field's very good. You got to be careful of that game. Home for Minnesota, home for the Chargers, before on the road against the Commanders on Christmas. That's the 6-game stretch. If you're expecting Dallas to win 4 of those games, it might be like you might be lucky if you win 3. You might be lucky if you win 3 of that 6. Anything more than that, it's going to be a miracle at that point. And then they finish up with the Giants in New York on January 4th. Tough stretch from December 7th. From November 23rd to December 25th. There is a tough stretch for Dallas. Can you find a way to win enough of your games early that you don't have to depend on that stretch? We're going to have to wait and see for that one. Next up, Giants. Let's get it real quick. Here we go. Giants at Commanders. Then the Giants are home. Giants at Commanders, then Giants at Cowboys. Before they're home for the Chiefs. So Giants can look at this and say, we could be down 0-3 before we even blink. Because can we beat the Commanders? It's week 1, anything could happen. Can we beat the Giants? It's week 2, anything could happen. But they are way better than we are. So we're betting on anything could happen. And at home for the Chiefs. at home for the Chargers, on the road in New Orleans against the Saints, home for the Eagles. It's a very tough stretch. And just to start, on the road against the Broncos, on the road against the Eagles. So they face the Eagles twice in October. Home for the 49ers, on the road versus the Bears. That's just till November 9th. Okay? November 16th, they're home for the Packers. On the road in Detroit to face the Lions. Then they are home December 1st against the Patriots. And they're on the road against the Patriots December 1st before a very late bye week when they are home for the Commanders. Then they are home for the Vikings at Las Vegas. So again, dome stadiums are your friend in December. That's your friend. As a cornerback, you know this. The sidelines are your friend. They can't catch the ball if they're out of bounds. So it's the same thing here. Dome stadiums are your friend. December 27th, Giants at Raiders before you finish off the year at home against the Cowboys. 3 of your last 4 games are at home. That's an advantage. But will you be out of it at that point is always a concern for any team. But especially with the Giants, with a tough stretch at the beginning of the year, will you be able to get to that even just December? Because you finish off November with the Lions. That's a tough game. Are you playing for anything at that point? Is really the question. And you can say that about any team, but especially with the Giants. Now, let's jump to the NFC West. Let's talk about the LA Rams. So the Rams won their division last year. Granted, they needed a lot of things to go their way at the end, and it happened. First game, they are at home versus the Houston Texans. It's a big game. It's going to be a big test, too, because CJ Stroud comes to town with Nico Collins. That's going to be interesting. Keep an eye on that one on September 7th. September 14th, on the road against the Tennessee Titans. Tough game. Number 1 overall pick. You got to find a way to play very well in those 2 games before you're on the road against the. They beat you. What comes back? Hopefully, there it is. We talked about weather, and dome stadiums are your friend. We said this. You facing Philadelphia, not going to be snow. You got to show that you could beat them in good weather. Because you nearly beat them in bad weather. Can you beat them in good weather? Then you're home for the Colts to end September. Home for the beginning of October against the 49ers. Before you're on the road against the Ravens. Staying on the East Coast, you face the Jaguars October 19th. Before you hit your bye week. And then your next game is November 2nd against the Saints. Before you go back on the road against San Francisco. Home for the Seahawks on November 16th. Home for the Buccaneers on November 23rd. At Carolina, November 30th. At Arizona, December 7th, Home for the Lions, December 14th. December 18th, you're at Seattle. December 29th, 11 days later. At Atlanta, before you finish off the year, home against the Cardinals. It's a tough stretch, it is. But we're going to talk about it right here, right now. 5 of your last 6 games are domes. The one game that isn't is Seattle. That's an advantage. That's an advantage because you know you're always going to play in good weather in a dome. There's not going to be rain in a dome. You don't have to worry about it. So That's what you have to know. Those are the goods. Now let's go to Seattle, who didn't finish the year the way they wanted to. Hopefully, the second year under Mike Macdonald is more positive. First game, home for the 49ers. Then they're out against the Steelers. Go back on the road against Arizona. Home for Tampa Bay. Hold on, camera went out again. Okay, we're back. So they're home for Tampa Bay before they go back on the road against Jacksonville. Home for the Texans. Back on the road against the Commanders. Home for Cardinals. Back on the road against the Rams on November 16th. Their bye week is really early. It's the week at, so the Houston Texans versus Seahawks matchup is October 20th. They only play again against the Commanders on November 2nd. But they're keeping up this home away. They're at the Rams November 16th. At the Titans November 23rd. Home for the Vikings on November 30th. At Atlanta December 7th. Home for the Colts December 14th. Home for the Rams on December 18th. Their first back-to-back home game stretch is December 14th, and then on a Thursday night on December 18th. That's their first time, and we're in December. That's tough. Back on the road against the Panthers on December 27th, and then they're on the road to finish off the year at San Francisco. They face San Francisco. Two things. They only have a back-to-back homestand in December, mid-December, December 14th and 18th. Then they also only face San Francisco week 1 and week 18. That's a big change. Let's see what happens. Let's see if Seattle has anything to play for in week 18. And let's see if San Francisco can get back into it. That's going to be tough for them too. Let's jump to the Arizona Cardinals, who, like we said, they didn't finish the way they wanted to. They were winning this division for a good period of time, and they just didn't finish. First game, at the Saints. Then they're home for the Panthers. Then they're on the road against the 49ers. They play an early Thursday night game again at home against the Seahawks. Then they come back October 5th when they are at the home for the Titans. Home for the Titans. Then they are on the road in Indianapolis to face the Colts. Home for the Packers before they have a bye week they face the Packers on October 19th in Arizona. The next game they play is at Dallas November 3rd. That's a big change. Then they are on the road against the Seahawks on November 9th. Home for the 49ers November 16th. Home for the Jaguars November 23rd. At Tampa Bay November 30th. Home for the Rams December 7th. At Houston, they faced off against the Texans on December 14th. Home for the Falcons on December 21st. In Cincinnati to face the Bengals on December 27th. That game is TBD. And at LA on January 3rd or 4th. That game is also TBD. It's a tough stretch for Arizona. Dome stadiums are your friend. When you have such an early bye week, that's hard. That's very challenging. We did a short about this yesterday. Early bye weeks are like the worst thing to happen for an NFL team. It's so challenging to get back, to try to get formed together. It's very challenging. It's like the worst thing that could happen to an NFL team is having an early bye week because injuries play a factor. Now let's jump to the 49ers to finish off. 49ers on the road at Seattle. Week 1. Then week 2 are at the Saints. Then they're home against the Cardinals. That's the first game, September 21st at home. home again for Jacksonville. Then they October 2nd on the road against the Rams. On the road against Tampa Bay. After a 10 days off, because that's October 2nd is a Thursday. In Tampa Bay is going to be hard for them. That weather's a nightmare. October 19th, home for the Falcons. Then they are on the road against the Texans on October 26th. On the road against the Giants November 2nd. Home for the Rams November 9th. On the road against Arizona November 16th. Home for the Panthers November 24th. November 30th, they're on the road in Cleveland before they hit a bye week, a late bye week in December. Home for the Titans December 14th. On the road in Indianapolis to face the Colts December 22nd. Home for the Bears December 28th. That's an 8 o'clock game. So that Colts game is a Monday nighter. That Bears is a Sunday nighter. And they finish off the year home against Seattle on January 4th. Or January 3rd or 4th, I should say. It's a tough stretch. Very tough stretch. The late bye weeks, we have to talk about it. The late bye weeks are the most difficult. When your team is tired, you have to play your best. Jimmy Johnson used to have this saying when he was at the University of Miami. He wanted everyone to be in great shape. He wanted people who weren't tired. He would run them all day long. Run them all day long. So they weren't tired. Because he said, and I'm going to describe it, when you're kicking somebody's ass, there's nothing like that. But when you're beating them in the fourth quarter and you're kicking their ass in the fourth quarter, that's a whole different level. And he used to have this saying, and this is a military saying. And it's a military saying. It's fatigue makes cowards of us all. He says, look at him. Look at him across the sideline. See how tired he is? He's not going to make the play. He's going to be a coward. He's not going to go in and try to make the play. Don't be tired. We're going to run you so you're not. So you're not tired. That's the point. When you have a late bye week, you're going to have people who are going to quit on your team. That's the reason you want your bye week in the middle of the season. So people can get rejuvenated, get back in the right mindset. When you have a late bye week in December, it is hard to get them back because they've already been gone for weeks. It's hard to get them back. The only way to get them back is if you've been winning games. But if you find yourself late bye week and you haven't been winning lately, that's a problem. That's the problem. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Peeber as the camera goes. Okay, we're back. But that's what it is. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. So don't get tired. When your bye week's late, you got people who are fatigued and tired and therefore aren't willing to make the plays that are necessary to win. That's the problem. You hope you're playing for something in December because you need it. That's the schedule breakdown for the NFC East and West. Let me know in the comments how thrilling this would be for you and what are the records. What's the record for the Dallas Cowboys? What's the record for the Philadelphia Eagles? Can the Philadelphia go back-to-back? What's the record for the New York Giants? What's the record for the Washington Commanders? What's the records in the NFC West? What's the record for the Rams? What's the record for the Cardinals? What's the record for the Seahawks? What's the record for the San Francisco 49ers? Let me know in the comment section. And while you're down there, like the video, subscribe. It's absolutely free. And share the video on any part of your social media. Have people come here and enjoy as we break this down. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.